I'm Iris, 32, a financial analyst from Boston with a complicated relationship with my controlling mother. When my grandmother's 80th birthday trip to Hawaii was announced, I was excited until Mom dropped her ultimatum. Flights are $1,450 each. If you cannot afford it, stay behind. I reluctantly agreed, only to discover a shocking $9,540 charge on my credit card days later. The moment I hit dispute all, my phone lit up with my brother's call. Before I tell you how I finally stood up to my manipulative family, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like and subscribe button to join others who've learned to set boundaries with difficult relatives. Growing up in our well-maintained colonial house in suburban Massachusetts, money was never openly discussed, but always silently wielded as a weapon. My mother Patricia ran our household like a corporation, where she was the undisputed CEO. Her perfectly styled hair and country club membership masked a woman who used financial control to maintain power over everyone in her orbit. My father James, a successful but conflict-avoidant accountant, learned early in their marriage that challenging Patricia's decisions only resulted in Arctic coldness that could last for weeks. He retreated into his work, leaving us kids to navigate Mom's complicated emotional economy on our own. As the middle child and only daughter, I grew up watching the different ways my brothers adapted to Mom's control. Scott, my older brother by 3 years, became the perfect son who followed all the rules. Now married to Amanda with 2 children, he still calls Mom before making any significant purchase, a habit that makes his wife quietly seethe at family gatherings. Kyle, my younger brother by 2 years, took another approach, always struggling financially. Despite a good job, he became an expert at playing the role of the helpless son who needed Mom's guidance and financial loans that we all knew would never be repaid. This arrangement satisfied Mom's need to be needed while giving Kyle access to the lifestyle he couldn't otherwise afford. I took a different path. After witnessing how money tangled every relationship in our family, I became determined to establish financial independence. I worked through college, took out minimal student loans, and secured a position at a financial firm immediately after graduation. My apartment was modest, my car reliable but not flashy, and my savings account grew steadily each month. Mom viewed my independence as a personal rejection. "You act like you were raised in poverty." She would sniff disapprovingly when visiting my apartment. I didn't raise my daughter to live like this. What she couldn't understand was that my smaller life felt infinitely more spacious without her strings attached. The one untainted relationship in our family was with my grandmother Elaine, Mom's mother. Grandma Elaine had a quiet wisdom and warmth that made me wonder how she had raised someone like my mother. During my childhood visits to her small house filled with books and the smell of baking, she would listen to my dreams without judgment. "Your mother loves in the only way she knows how." Grandma once told me during a particularly difficult time with Mom. "But that doesn't mean you have to accept it. Love has no conditions, Iris." When the family group chat lit up with Mom's announcement about a trip to Hawaii to celebrate Grandma Elaine's 80th birthday, my immediate instinct was joy. Grandma had always talked about seeing the Pacific one last time, and the thought of giving her that gift while surrounded by family felt right, in a way few family gatherings ever did. I should have known better than to hope this would be different. The planning began like all family events did, with a flurry of messages from Mom establishing her complete control over every aspect. Destination resort activities and even meal plans were presented as finalized decisions rather than points for discussion. "I've researched the perfect resort in Maui," Mom wrote in the group chat. "They have special packages for milestone celebrations. I'll handle all the bookings to make things easier." At first, everyone responded with enthusiasm. Scott and Amanda started discussing which grandparent would watch their kids. Kyle sent excited emojis, and Dad predictably just liked every message without comment. I kept my reservations to myself, not wanting to dampen the excitement surrounding Grandma's celebration. 3 weeks later, Mom called for a family Zoom meeting to discuss finances for Hawaii. As we all logged in from our respective homes, I noticed Grandma wasn't included in the call. "I finalized most of the arrangements." Mom began, her perfect smile firmly in place. Now we need to discuss costs. The flights are $1,450 each person. I frowned immediately, opening a new browser tab during the call. A quick search showed flights from Boston to Maui ranging from $650 to $800, even for the dates Mom had specified. Mom, I'm seeing much cheaper flights online, I said, sharing my screen to show the search results. We could save almost half by booking directly. Mom's smile tightened at the corners. Those are basic economy with multiple stops and no flexibility. The flights I've selected are premium economy direct with trip insurance and preferred seating. This is a special occasion for your grandmother Iris. We're not going to nickel and dime her birthday celebration. I understand that, but $1,000 extra per person seems excessive, I persisted. If you cannot afford it, stay behind, Mom replied, her tone making it clear the discussion was over. I need everyone's payment information by the end of the week to secure the bookings. After the call ended, my phone rang immediately. It was Grandma Elaine. Your mother tells me you might not come to Hawaii, she said, her voice tinged with disappointment. My heart sank. She told you that already? We just finished the call. She said you were being difficult about the cost. Iris, I understand if you can't come, but I would really love to have you there. It might be my last chance to have all my family together somewhere beautiful. The soft hurt in her voice melted my resistance. Of course I'll be there, Grandma. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Later that evening, I reluctantly messaged Mom. I'll join the trip, but could you please send me a detailed breakdown of all the costs before I send my payment information? I need it for my budget. Don't worry about the details, she replied almost instantly. I've worked out a package deal. Just send me your credit card information and I'll take care of everything. It's all part of the convenience I'm providing by coordinating this. A warning bell rang in my mind, but the thought of disappointing Grandma silenced it. I sent my credit card details with one final request. Please just charge the flight for now and let me know before charging anything else. Of course, sweetheart, came Mom's reply. Trust me, I'm handling everything. Those words should have been my first clue that trouble was brewing. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was in the middle of presenting quarterly projections to my department when my phone vibrated with a credit card alert. Normally, I would have ignored it until after the meeting, but something made me glance down. The notification preview made my heart stop. Your card was charged $9,540 at Paradise Travel. Excuse me, I stammered to my colleagues. I need a 5-minute break. Technical issue. I rushed to the empty conference room next door, hands shaking as I called my credit card company. Yes, Ms. Coleman, that charge was processed this morning, the customer service representative confirmed. It appears to be from a travel agency in Massachusetts. Would you like to dispute this charge? I need to make a call first. I replied, ending the conversation and immediately dialing my mother. Oh, you saw the charge? Mom answered casually, as if we were discussing the weather. Yes, I finalized all the bookings today. Mom, the charge is almost $10,000. You said the flights were $1,450 each. That's all I authorized. Well, Iris, the charge includes your accommodations too, and some special experiences I've arranged for the family. The resort requires full payment up front for the package I selected. But you never sent me a breakdown or asked if I wanted these extras, I said, trying to keep my voice level. You said you'd only charge the flight for now. Don't be dramatic. It's your grandmother's 80th birthday. Did you expect to stay in some cheap motel I booked oceanfront suites for everyone? There's also a private sunset cruise and a professional photographer for family portraits on the beach. As she continued listing extras I'd never agreed to, I pulled up the resort website on my laptop. The most expensive room they offered was $450 per night. Even with a 7-night stay and the flight, the total should have been nowhere near $9,540. Mom, these numbers don't add up, I interrupted. Even with everything you're describing, the cost shouldn't be this high. Did you book the same for everyone else? Everyone's contributing equally to make this special for Grandma, she replied, avoiding a direct answer. Did you charge the same amount to Kyle's card? He can't afford this. A telling pause followed. Kyle's situation is different. Your father and I are helping him. Translation. Kyle wasn't being charged the same exorbitant amount, and likely neither was Scott. I was subsidizing my family's vacation without my consent. This is completely unacceptable, I said, my voice shaking with anger now. You used my card for charges I never approved, for accommodations I never requested, at a price that's clearly inflated. I want you to cancel this immediately and refund my card. If I cancel now, we'll lose the deposit. Do you want to ruin your grandmother's birthday celebration? Is that the kind of granddaughter you are? The emotional manipulation was so familiar it almost worked automatically. Almost. But something had shifted in me. Perhaps it was seeing the actual dollar amount of Mom's control tactics, or maybe it was the culmination of years of similar behaviors that had gone unchallenged. This isn't about Grandma, I said quietly. This is about you overcharging me without my consent. That's not just manipulative, Mom, it's potentially fraudulent. How dare you accuse me of fraud? After everything I've done for this family, for you. I ended the call without responding and stared at my phone for several long moments. Then I opened my credit card app and hit the button I'd never used before, dispute charge. I filled out the form quickly, merchant charged card for unauthorized amount far exceeding agreed upon transaction. As I hit submit, I felt both terrified and strangely liberated. The liberation lasted exactly 17 minutes before my phone rang again. This time it was Kyle. What the hell, Iris? Kyle's voice came through the phone, pitched higher than normal. Mom is freaking out, saying you're trying to ruin Grandma's birthday trip. I closed the door to my office, grateful for the privacy. Kyle, she charged over $9,000 to my card without my permission. Did she charge you the same amount? His hesitation told me everything. Well, no. She and Dad are covering most of my costs. But that's different. You know my situation. What exactly did she charge to your card? I pressed. Just the flight. Around $600. I almost laughed. So not the $1, $450. She told everyone during the call, and certainly not thousands more for accommodations and extras. Wait, what? She told us flights were $1, $450 each. They're not. And she's charging different amounts to different people without transparency. She charged me over $9,000, Kyle, without my explicit consent. Before Kyle could respond, my phone beeped with another incoming call. Scott. I added him to the conversation. Iris, what is wrong with you? Scott began without preamble. Mom is in tears. She's worked for weeks planning this perfect celebration for Grandma, and you're threatening to ruin everything over money. Since when did you become so selfish? Scott, do you know how much she charged to your card for this trip? I asked calmly. That's not the point, he deflected. The point is family comes first. If you can't put aside your petty concerns about money for Grandma's sake, then maybe you shouldn't come. Answer the question, Scott. How much did Mom charge you? After a long pause, Scott admitted, around $3,000 for Amanda and me combined. But we have the kids' travel costs too, so Mom is covering part of our expenses. So I was subsidizing not just Kyle, but Scott's family too. All without my knowledge or consent. Over the next hour, my phone exploded with messages and calls. Dad texted asking me to just go along with it this once for peace in the family. Amanda surprisingly sent a private message saying, I understand your position more than you know, but Scott won't stand up to her. Various aunts and uncles who'd been looped into the drama sent confused messages asking what was happening with the Hawaii situation. Meanwhile, Mom had apparently called Grandma Elaine, who left a tearful voicemail. Iris, sweetie, I don't understand what's happening, but please don't let money come between the family. If it's too expensive, I'd rather cancel the whole trip than have all this fighting. The manipulation was perfectly executed. Now, if the trip was canceled, I would be the villain who ruined Grandma's birthday dream. Classic mom tactics. That night, I barely slept. Instead, I called my best friend Taylor, the only person who truly understood the dynamics of my family without being entangled in them. Let me get this straight, Taylor said after I explained the situation. Your mother quoted everyone different prices, charged you the highest amount without itemizing or getting proper consent, and is now making you the bad guy for questioning it. That about sums it up. Iris, that's financial abuse. If anyone else did this, you'd call it fraud and report them immediately. But it's my mother, I said weakly. Which makes it worse, not better, Taylor replied firmly. She's exploiting your relationship and using your grandmother as emotional leverage. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Taylor's words crystallized something I'd felt but couldn't articulate. This wasn't just a disagreement about money. It was about a lifetime of control disguised as care of manipulation, masked as family loyalty. I spent the rest of the night researching consumer protection laws regarding unauthorized credit card use, even between family members. By morning, I had a plan and a script for confronting my family with both facts and boundaries. What I didn't have was any certainty that our family would survive the confrontation intact. This family emergency meeting will begin now, Mom announced the next evening as everyone's faces appeared in the Zoom grid. Grandma Elaine was there too, looking confused and upset. Mom had positioned herself next to Dad in their immaculate living room, a united front. We're here because Iris has decided that her grandmother's milestone birthday celebration isn't worth the expense. Mom began, her voice quivering with perfectly calibrated emotion. She's disputed the charges for the trip, which puts all our reservations in jeopardy. I took a deep breath and unmuted myself. That's not accurate, and I think it's time for complete transparency about this trip. I've prepared a breakdown of the actual costs versus what was charged. This isn't the time for one of your spreadsheets, Iris, Mom interrupted. Actually, it's exactly the time, I replied, sharing my screen where I'd prepared a simple chart. Here are the actual costs I found for flights from Boston to Maui. On our travel dates, $680. Round trip per person, not $1,000, $450 as quoted. The oceanfront rooms at the resort are $450 per night, totaling $3,150. For 7 nights, even adding the sunset cruise at $150 per person and professional photography session at $500. My total cost should be approximately $480. I paused to let the numbers sink in. Yet I was charged $9,540, more than double the actual cost. Meanwhile, Kyle was charged only for his flight at the actual price of $600, not the inflated $1,450 we were all quoted. Scott and Amanda were charged $3,000 total, despite being a family of 4. The silence on the call was deafening until Kyle spoke. Is this true, Mom? Did you charge us all different amounts? Mom's face had transformed from sympathetic victim to cornered predator. This is outrageous. I'm coordinating this entire trip out of love for your grandmother, and this is the thanks I get being accused of. What exactly, Iris, caring too much about creating a perfect family experience? I'm not questioning your intentions, Mom. I'm stating facts about the charges you made without proper consent. You told me you were charging only the flight to my card, then charged more than double what the entire trip should cost. Scott predictably jumped to Mom's defense. Mom has always handled family finances. She probably had additional expenses we don't know about. Then she should have itemized them and gotten explicit consent before charging anyone's card, I replied. This isn't about the money itself. It's about transparency and respect for boundaries. To my surprise, Kyle spoke up again. Iris is right. If the flights were actually $680, why were we told they were $450? And why were we all charged differently? Mom's strategy shifted instantly. Kyle, you know your father and I have always helped you financially. Are you really questioning our generosity now? This isn't about generosity, I interjected. It's about honesty. If you wanted to subsidize Kyle's trip, you could have done that transparently. Instead, you misrepresented costs to everyone and overcharged me without consent. Grandma Elaine, who had been silent, finally spoke. Patricia, is what Iris saying true? Did you charge different amounts to different family members? Mom looked genuinely flustered for perhaps the first time in my life. Mom, you don't understand the complexities of planning a trip like this. There are deposits and fees and contingencies. That doesn't answer the question, Grandma said quietly. Dad, who had been characteristically silent, surprised everyone by speaking. Patricia, I think we need to address Iris's concerns directly. Mom's face hardened as she realized she was losing control of the narrative. Fine. If Iris wants to bean count her grandmother's birthday celebration, that's her choice. But I won't have my integrity questioned. Either she drops this dispute and comes to Hawaii as planned, or she can consider herself excluded from this family event and whatever else comes after. The ultimatum hung in the digital air between us. In the past, this would have been the moment I capitulated, apologized for causing trouble, and surrendered to keep the peace. Not this time. I won't drop the dispute until the charge is corrected to reflect the actual costs of what I agreed to, I said evenly. I'm happy to pay my fair share for Grandma's celebration, but I won't be overcharged without consent or transparency. And I won't accept being manipulated through guilt or family exclusion. Then you've made your choice, Mom said coldly. No, Mom. For the first time, I'm refusing to accept the false choices you've presented. I ended the call and sat in my quiet apartment, shaking but somehow feeling more centered than I had in years. My phone immediately lit up with private messages from family members. Some supportive, some condemning, all of them shocked by the public challenge to Mom's authority. For better or worse, the decades-long pattern was finally broken. The next morning, I took a personal day from work and scheduled meetings with two people, my financial advisor and my law school friend Jessica, who specialized in consumer protection. I needed to understand my options fully before proceeding. You're well within your rights to maintain this dispute, Jessica confirmed after hearing the full story. Using someone's credit card for charges they didn't explicitly authorize is technically fraud, regardless of family relationships. But before we go down legal routes, let's explore resolution strategies that preserve family relationships. My financial advisor was more blunt. This is financial abuse, plain and simple. I've seen this pattern before, usually with elderly parents, not adult children. The question is whether you want justice or resolution. I decided I wanted both, accountability for what happened, and a pathway forward that didn't permanently fracture my family. That afternoon, I called the travel agency, directly explaining the situation and asking for an itemized breakdown of the charges. We worked directly with Patricia Coleman on this booking, the agent explained. She specifically requested that all charges be consolidated into one transaction on your card, despite our standard practice of charging each traveler separately. Was she authorized to use my card for everyone's expenses? I asked. We were told it was a family card with shared authorization, the agent replied uncomfortably. We should have verified that directly with you as the cardholder. That's on us. This conversation confirmed what I had suspected. This wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern. I wondered how many other financial decisions Mom had made on my behalf without full transparency. That evening, my phone rang with Kyle's number. Can we talk? He asked, sounding uncharacteristically serious. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment, and for the first time, Kyle opened up about his own experiences with Mom's financial control. She's been managing my finances since college, he admitted. What started as help with tuition turned into her having access to all my accounts. She helps me budget, which means she approves every purchase. The help comes with constant criticism and comparison to you and Scott. Why didn't you ever say anything? I asked. Because it was easier than standing on my own. But watching you stand up to her made me realize how much of my life I've surrendered. He looked down at his coffee. I'm 30 years old and I've never booked my own flight. That's messed up, Iris. That conversation with Kyle led to others. Amanda called the next day, admitting that Mom's financial interference had been a source of conflict in her marriage with Scott for years. Even a couple of aunts reached out, sharing stories of Mom's controlling behaviors dating back to her own youth. I was discovering that Mom's financial manipulation wasn't just my problem. It was a family system that everyone had adapted to rather than challenged. With this broader understanding, I drafted a careful email to the entire family. I included documented facts about the trip costs, the unauthorized nature of the charges, and a proposed solution. I will happily attend Grandma's celebration and pay my fair share directly to the providers. I've already spoken with the resort and airline about booking my portions separately. I look forward to celebrating with everyone in Hawaii, but I will no longer participate in financial arrangements that lack transparency and consent. I sent the email with a pounding heart, unsure of the response it would receive. Within an hour, my phone rang. It was Grandma Elaine. "I'm proud of you, Iris," she said simply. "You are, but the trip, the family conflict, will all work out," she said with quiet certainty. "What you're asking for is nothing more than basic respect. It's long overdue in this family." That evening, Dad called. Alone, not with Mom. "Your mother is very upset," he began, and my heart sank. Then he continued, "But I think she needed to hear this." We both did. The way finances have been handled in our family hasn't been healthy. It started years ago as Patricia trying to take care of everyone, but it turned into something else along the way. "Do you think anything will change?" I asked. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "But for the first time, we're at least acknowledging there's something to change. That's a start." The next day, I booked my own flight to Hawaii, paying $680 for a ticket that had supposedly cost $450. I reserved my own room at the resort. I arranged my own transportation. Each independent action felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The credit card company completed their investigation and reversed the charge. Mom didn't contact me directly, but through Dad agreed to a family meeting without Grandma present to establish new financial boundaries for family events. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was progress. And for the first time, I was walking into a family conflict with my boundary firmly intact. The Hawaii trip itself was initially awkward, but ultimately healing. Mom was cold toward me for the first 2 days, but with Grandma's joy as the central focus, even she couldn't maintain the tension. By the third day, we had established an uneasy truce. The actual celebration for Grandma was beautiful. Against the backdrop of a Maui sunset surrounded by 3 generations of family, Grandma Elaine looked happier than I'd seen her in years. During a quiet moment on the beach, she took my hand. "Thank you for coming despite everything," she said. "I wouldn't have missed it, Grandma. You know I see so much of myself in you," she continued, surprising me. "The difference is, I never found the courage to stand up to controlling people in my life. I just worked around them, made accommodations, kept the peace." "Like with Mom?" I asked gently. Grandma nodded. "Patricia learned her controlling behaviors from somewhere, though she took them to new levels. I wish I'd addressed it when she was younger." She squeezed my hand. "Watching you break the pattern gives me hope for the future of this family." That conversation was worth more than any birthday celebration could have been. The remainder of this trip revealed subtle shifts in family dynamics. Scott, observing how I maintained boundaries without creating drama, began questioning some of Mom's decisions rather than automatically supporting her. Kyle booked his own excursion one day, a small act of independence that would have been unthinkable before. Even Dad seemed more willing to express his own opinions. As for Mom, she was experiencing the uncomfortable reality that her financial leverage no longer worked as effectively. When genuine connection is required, instead of control, relationships must be renegotiated on new terms. The most telling moment came on our last day when Mom approached me as I watched the waves from the resort balcony. "I still think you overreacted about the trip costs," she began defensively. I remained silent, letting her continue. "But," she added after a long pause, "I should have been clearer about the charges before using your card. That was inconsiderate." From Mom, this qualified as a monumental admission. "Thank you for acknowledging that," I replied simply. We didn't hug or have a dramatic reconciliation, but something had shifted. A boundary had been established, and however reluctantly respected. Back home in Boston, I found myself reflecting on how a credit card dispute had catalyzed changes across my entire family system. The Thanksgiving gathering 3 months after Hawaii showed the evolution continuing. Financial discussions were now conducted openly with costs clearly stated. When Mom attempted to take control of Christmas planning with vague cost estimates, Scott surprised everyone by saying, "Could you send us all an itemized breakdown of expenses before we commit?" The flash of irritation on Mom's face was quickly replaced by resignation as she realized the old patterns no longer worked. My own confidence extended beyond family dynamics. I negotiated a promotion at work, approached dating with clearer boundaries, and even addressed a long-standing issue with a friend who had a habit of forgetting her wallet when we went out. The journey wasn't just about money, it was about recognizing my own worth enough to require respect from others, including family. It was about understanding that love doesn't require surrendering boundaries and that healthy relationships can withstand honest conflict. Sometimes standing your ground means risking relationships, but the relationships that survive become authentically stronger. Mom and I will never have the effortless closeness some mothers and daughters enjoy, but we now have something arguably more valuable, a relationship based on reality rather than manipulation and capitulation. As Grandma Elaine wisely told me on a phone call after returning from Hawaii, the truth might hurt relationships temporarily, but secrets and resentment damage them permanently. I never expected a disputed credit card charge would become the catalyst for healing decades of family dynamics. But sometimes transformation begins with a simple act of saying, "This isn't right," and standing firm in that truth regardless of the emotional pressure to back down. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members, especially around finances? Did you hold firm or give in to keep the peace? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating complicated family dynamics and establishing healthy boundaries. Thank you for listening, and remember that standing up for yourself doesn't mean you love your family any less. Sometimes, it's the most loving thing you can do for everyone involved.